Thank you for taking my survey. I made this video to help you determine your likelihood of having Hashimoto's disease based upon your survey results. Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune disease in which the body attacks one's own thyroid, preventing it from producing enough thyroid hormones, which are necessary for every cell of the body. The first question I asked about on the survey was about certain foods: gluten, dairy, soy, sugar. Being sensitive to those foods, perhaps not feeling well after eating them, getting a headache after eating them. While it might not indicate that a person has Hashimoto's just because the person doesn't feel well after eating sugar, say, it makes it more likely that something like Hashimoto's might be going on. The next thing I listed were 22 symptoms. If you have more than, this is kind of arbitrary, but if you have more than 3 of those symptoms, I recommend potentially getting checked for Hashimoto's. The next question I asked about was stress. Stress oftentimes can be a trigger to enable the manifestation of Hashimoto's disease. The next question I asked about was the ACE survey, the Adverse Childhood Experiences survey. This survey it's 10 questions. I plan on linking it down in the description section. It's questions like, before you were 18, were you ever physically abused? Were you frequently physically abused, emotionally abused? Questions like that. And Childhood Disrupted by this book by Donna Jackson Nakazawa. In it, she to cite her, she wrote about the damage that adverse childhood experiences can do to the brain and body, how these invisible changes contribute to the development of disease, including autoimmune diseases, long into adulthood. If you're interested further into this concept, I recommend reading the book, Childhood Disrupted: How Your Biography Becomes Your Biology, and How You Can Heal. After that question, I started talking about thyroid test. The most common thyroid test is TSH, but that can be problematic for 2 reasons. The first is that just testing TSH alone, it's great to test it, but just testing it alone oftentimes is not enough, because a person can have Hashimoto's disease for 10-15 years before TSH gets elevated. What's happening with TSH, it's the thyroid stimulating hormone. Basically, when the thyroid is not producing enough thyroid hormones, through a number of steps, the pituitary gland near the brain produces TSH, a thyroid stimulating hormone, saying, hey, thyroid, make more hormones. But like I just said, that oftentimes might not happen for years after the thyroid is being attacked. The second issue is a general issue, and that's got to do with the idea of normal versus ideal. So for example, let's say this is the normal weight of the population, like on the low side and the high side. So think about the average. Average means normal, right? So this is the normal range. But the ideal range might be this. So too with TSH. The normal range, where most people might lie, is between 0.4 and 5.5 micro international units per milliliter. The ideal range, however, is more narrow, between 0.5 and 2, or in the elderly, between 0.5 and 2.5. Any numbers above that, above 2 or 2.5 for the elderly, can indicate either Hashimoto's disease or an iodine deficiency. But Hashimoto's disease nowadays is far more likely due to iodine supplementation into salt. It's not just about TSH though. According to Isabella Wentz, the 6 tests important for determining Hashimoto's disease are TSH, as mentioned, as well as free T4, free T3, reverse T3, TPO antibodies, and TG antibodies. The T4, the free T4, should be between 15 and 23 picomoles per liter. The free T3 should be between 5 and 7 picomoles per liter, and reverse T3 should be between 11 and 18 nanograms per deciliter. The antibodies ideally should be 0, but up to 2 international units per milliliter. The average, the normal range is up till 35, but even less than 35, but above 2 might indicate Hashimoto's disease or Graves' disease, which is the opposite. It's when there's too much thyroid hormones being produced. So those are the tests recommended. I plan on linking below more information about that as well. The last question asked about was sex. According to Wentz, females are 5 to 8 times more likely than males to get Hashimoto's disease. So what this means is that with everything I discussed previously, all those questions in your survey, if it seems likely that you have Hashimoto's disease, if you're a female, I definitely recommend getting tested. And if you're a male, I still recommend getting tested. If your doctor is not willing to give you those 6 tests recommended by Wentz, you can say that a doctor recommended you get them. If you're living in Israel, say an American doctor recommended it. If you're living in America, say an Israeli doctor recommended it. Don't say I'm a doctor of education. And just when you go in there with confidence and you say I've been doing a lot of research, I'm really interested in getting these tests done. I haven't had a problem. I helped a friend get the recommendations, and I had myself tested for a lot of them as well. So just wish you a lot of success with your health.